I had just returned from the most stress-free 10 days of my life. Ocean views, good food, total relaxation. Meanwhile, back home, my HOA president spent every one of those same 10 days in full meltdown mode. His prized BMW was locked inside my garage while I sat thousands of miles away watching his tantrums unfold on my security cameras. He called the cops, he called the HOA board, he even tried 3 different locksmiths, all of whom failed. Every day I checked my phone, and every day the entertainment got better. By the end of the trip, I didn't even miss Netflix. Anyone else ever had their parking spot stolen by some entitled neighbor? Drop it in the comments below. I'm curious if your HOA horror beats mine. But to really understand how we ended up here, we need to rewind. My name's Ryan Jacobs. I'm a mechanical engineer who works from home, and 2 years ago, I bought a modest house in a neighborhood that seemed quiet and friendly. The kind of place where you nod at your neighbor while mowing the lawn and then go back to minding your business. That illusion shattered the day I found a stranger's car in my garage. It wasn't just parked halfway in. No, it was fully inside like it belonged there. The door was even pulled shut. At first, I thought maybe I'd forgotten to close it, but my security feed told the truth. My neighbor, Martin Doyle, the self-proclaimed protector of the community, and our HOA president, had parked his car in my garage overnight. He had a history of throwing his weight around, but this was the first time he brought it directly to my doorstep. I didn't know it then, but this was just the beginning of a long and ridiculous battle. And the next morning, when I confronted him, things spiraled into something I never could have predicted. The next day, I walked across the street to Martin's house. He was out front trimming his hedges with the smug confidence of a man who thought he owned the neighborhood. When I mentioned the car in my garage, he didn't deny it. He didn't even apologize. Instead, he told me that as HOA president, he had certain privileges. Apparently, one of those privileges included using my garage space whenever he pleased. I was stunned. He claimed it was for the good of the community, because street parking made the neighborhood look messy. I pointed out that his solution was literally trespassing, but he brushed me off like I was a child complaining about bedtime. From that moment, I knew this wasn't about parking, it was about control. Martin had been itching to show dominance, and I had become his latest target. The logical thing would have been to file a complaint with the HOA board. But Martin was the board, or at least he acted like it. He'd stacked the committee with his friends, all too scared to challenge him. So, if I wanted to fight back, I had to be creative. That night, I reviewed my security footage again and saved copies showing him pulling into my garage. I didn't know when I'd use them, but I knew they'd come in handy. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I woke up the next morning to find his car in my garage again. The second time it happened, I realized Martin wasn't just testing me, he was daring me to push back. He wanted me to break the rules so he could swoop in with fines and penalties. That was his favorite trick. Provoke, then punish. But instead of confronting him directly again, I hatched a different plan. I went to the hardware store and bought a reinforced deadbolt for the inside of my garage. Once his car was parked there again, I quietly installed the lock and shut the door tight. I had officially flipped the script. For once, Martin wasn't in control. I was. The next few hours were glorious. My cameras caught him walking out of his house, expecting his shiny BMW to be waiting on the street, only to find it missing. His face twisted in confusion, then rage, then panic. He banged on my front door, pounded on the garage, and finally stormed back to his house in a fury. That night, I booked a last-minute 10-day vacation to the coast. If Martin wanted to make this a battle of wills, he was about to lose. I locked up, turned on all my cameras, and left town with the biggest grin on my face. But by day 2, I realized just how far he was willing to go to get his car back. From the beachside hotel balcony, I watched the chaos unfold on my phone. Martin first tried reasoning, then shouting, then threatening. He left angry notes taped to my door, each one more desperate than the last. When that didn't work, he escalated. The cops came by twice, but since I had proof he had trespassed into my garage without permission, they said it was a civil matter. That drove him insane. He called locksmith after locksmith, but the reinforced lock I installed held strong. Watching 3 different professionals fail to break into my garage was the kind of entertainment money can't buy. By day 5, Martin looked like a man unraveling. His perfectly trimmed hair was a mess, his shirt wrinkled, his voice hoarse from shouting. My neighbors gathered on their lawns just to watch the spectacle, whispering and recording clips on their phones. And every single time I checked my feed, I laughed harder. It wasn't just revenge anymore, it was poetic justice. Still, I knew the real showdown would happen when I got back home. When I finally returned from vacation, I drove straight into my driveway to find Martin pacing on the sidewalk like a man possessed. The moment he saw me, he exploded, screaming about lawsuits, HOA violations, and personal damages. I let him rant for a full minute before calmly pulling out my phone and showing him the saved footage. Him parking in my garage, him trying to break in, him harassing my property while I was gone. His face drained of color. I told him simply, the next time his car ended up in my garage, the police would get the footage and a trespassing report. Then I walked into my house, leaving him speechless for once in his life. The fallout came quickly. My neighbors, tired of his power games, voted him out at the next HOA meeting. The BMW incident had finally exposed him for what he was, an entitled bully. And me? I still have the security footage saved, just in case I ever need a good laugh. Because in the end, the best revenge isn't confrontation. It's locking the door, taking a vacation, and letting the entitled implode on their own ego.